Welcome to the deep dive. So imagine this. You're all set for a big international move. Maybe it's that dream job. Or perhaps you're closing a really crucial business deal overseas. And then suddenly you hit a wall. Your key documents, things like your birth certificate, maybe company papers, they get rejected.
Right.
And the problem, well, they're missing this very specific kind of international stamp, an approval.
Exactly. And that's the world we're diving into today.
Yeah.
Document authentication, specifically something called an apostille.
Apostille. Okay.
And it's really true. So many important documents, from personal stuff like birth and marriage certificate, even death certificates, to more complex business documents like articles of incorporation.
Yeah.
They absolutely need this special certification.
To be seen as valid outside the country.
Precisely, if you're using them overseas.
Got it. So for this deep dive, we're looking at materials that basically walk you through how to get these documents apostilled. And it seems like there's a bit of a focus on residents and businesses here in New Hampshire.
That's right. The sources provide that specific context. So our mission today is really to pull out the key insights from these materials. We want to understand, what kinds of documents actually need this, why the process can sometimes be, surprisingly complicated. What the stakes are if things go wrong, and they can be high, and then how these specialized services that are described actually claim they can help make it all smoother.
Okay, sounds good. Let's get into it. So first things first, what are we actually talking about here? Which documents need this international stamp of approval?
Well, the sources start with the basics. What is an apostille? And it's essentially like a certificate. It authenticates the seal and the signature of a public official on your document.
Okay.
So that it can be accepted in foreign countries, specifically countries that are part of the Hague Apostille Convention.
Ah, right. That international agreement.
Exactly. It's designed to simplify how documents are legalized between all the member countries.
And the list of documents they mention needing this, it's pretty varied, isn't it?
It really is. It kind of highlights just how often someone might run into this need, across different parts of their life or business. The sources specifically list things like vital records, your birth certificate, marriage certificate, death certificate, even divorce decrees.
Okay, the big personal life events.
Definitely. Then there are federal documents, things like FBI background checks, immigration documents. These usually go through the U.S. State Department.
Right.
Academic documents, too. College diplomas are mentioned.
Huh. Didn't think of that one.
Yeah. And then there's a big category for business and legal stuff. Articles of incorporation are a key one here.
Especially for businesses going international, I imagine.
Absolutely. Plus other legal papers, real estate documents, wills, affidavits, adoption forms, powers of attorney, legal contracts. Basically, anything a notary public might notarize often needs an apostille as the next step.
Wow.
Oh, and even Social Security documents can sometimes require it, according to these sources.
That is quite a list. It really spans everything from deeply personal records to, critical business operations. It shows how many different people could just suddenly find themselves needing this.
It really does. And, while the need for it might seem clear, okay, I need this document validated internationally, actually getting it done, well, one source explicitly says it can be complicated.
Right. It sounds simple on paper, maybe, get a stamp. But complicated suggests pitfalls. Do the sources explain why? Why is it tricky? Especially when, as you said, the stakes can be high.
Yeah, they connected directly to these really significant life events and business needs. We're talking about relocating overseas, maybe for work or family.
Okay.
Handling complex immigration stuff. And the sources even point out that translations often have to meet very specific standards, like USCIS standards for official documents. You can't just get anyone to translate it.
Right. It needs to be certified or official in a particular way.
Exactly. And then, of course, there's expanding a business internationally. Think about setting up subsidiaries, signing major contracts.
So if you mess up the apostille, or it just takes too long, you could actually miss out on that job. Or face serious delays with your visa or residency application.
That's the risk.
Or even, put a major international deal in jeopardy.
Precisely. The materials really emphasize these high stakes. And crucially, the timing. They talk about the goal being quick turnaround times to meet your deadline.
Because a delay isn't just inconvenient, it could unravel the whole plan.
It can have real cascading consequences, expensive ones too, for these major life and business moves.
Okay. So you've got this vital document. You know you need an apostille for wherever you're going. You're hearing it can be complex, and you're probably on a deadline because, well, the stakes are high.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where these services mentioned in the sources step in, right? They position themselves as the solution to cut through that complexity. What kind of help are they actually offering based on what we're seeing?
Well, the services described seem to focus on three main areas. First, obviously, the apostille services themselves, handling the process for both state and federal level documents.
Second, notary public services. Because, as we said, getting the document properly notarized is often that essential first step.
Right, you need that before the apostille.
Usually, yes. And third, certified translation services. They understand that often the document needs to be in the language of the destination country and certified correctly.
Makes sense. And how do they say they make this whole potentially daunting process easier? What are the selling points, according to the sources?
Well, pulling directly from the materials, the language they use is very much about ease and speed. They aim to make it fast and reliable.
Okay.
They promise a stress-free, hassle-free experience. You see phrases like simplifying apostille certification and just generally making complicated paperwork simpler.
And convenience, too.
Yeah, they specifically mention the convenience of easy online submission as a way to get started.
That sounds appealing, especially if you're stressed and short on time. Do the sources give any, concrete details or numbers on how they achieve this? Any proof behind the promises? Yes. Actually, one of the services highlighted provides some specific metrics. They mention having over 20 years of experience in this field.
Okay, that's substantial.
They also cite 536 successful clients served, and they claim a 99.4% on-time processing rate, along with 100% accuracy.
Wow, 100% accuracy is a bold claim in paperwork.
It is. And they give a time frame, too. Standard processing is apparently 3 to 5 business days, but they also offer expedited options if you're really in a rush.
3 to 5 days sounds pretty quick for government-related processing.
It does seem efficient, based on that claim.
Is there any feedback from actual users mentioned, like a testimonial?
There is. The sources include a quote from an Emily R. of Manchester, New Hampshire. She apparently described the service she used as efficient, professional, and stress-free.
Efficient, professional, stress-free. That aligns with their promises. And if someone listening thinks, okay, I might actually need this, how do the sources say they can, get in touch or start the process?
They give some specifics. One source provides a website. It mentions either apostilledepot.com or maybe apostilo.com. And it lists a phone number, 978-424-4629.
Okay.
The other source material seems more general, with calls to action like apply here or get in touch buttons or links.
Got it. So let's sort of summarize what we've pulled from these sources in this deep dive. It seems like, first, a really broad range of documents, personal stuff, business stuff, academic needs this apostille for international use, birth certificates, articles of incorporation, you name it.
Right, a surprisingly wide net.
Second, actually getting it done isn't always simple. The sources say it can be complicated, and the stakes are high because it's often tied to big life changes or business deals where timing is absolutely critical.
Delays can be disastrous.
And third, specialized services, like the ones detailed in the sources, present themselves as the way through this maze. They offer speed, they claim accuracy, and generally aim to make it easier, drawing on experience and specific processes to handle that complex paperwork.
Exactly. They're selling expertise and efficiency for navigating bureaucracy.
So, based on all that, what's a final thought for our listeners to maybe chew on?
Well, I think reflecting on the material, it strikes me that in today's world, everything is so interconnected, right? Personal life, business ambitions. They increasingly cross borders.
For sure.
And that means more demand for these authenticated documents, for visas, for contracts, for residency, all sorts of things. So maybe the real value highlighted here isn't just, the apostille itself, that stamp on the paper. Perhaps it's the specialized knowledge and the reliable process needed to get that stamp correctly and, importantly, on time, especially when so much often hangs in the balance. It's navigating the complexity that seems key.